And if you've all been mad about Danish fiction as a subtitled BBC TV series, and as much an addict as everybody else, I'm happy to tell you that tonight we have the real thing, at least the literary equivalent. We have a very strong female character, both the writer and the protagonist, although she's not wearing a sweater, I don't think. She's Danish, and we're going to speak in English, so no subtitles tonight at all. It's a new novel as well, and it is hot off the press of translated fiction. You know, it's probably only one printing press actually publishing this stuff, but The Murder of Halland is the book we're talking about. It's theoretically a crime novel, but its publisher, Michael Searfogle of Parini Press, described it in her nomination for ELN as a murder, a gun, an inspector, suspense, but it strays far beyond the whodunit norm. May I welcome the very brilliant author of the brilliant Murder of Halland, Pia Juul. It's almost like a sweater, actually, isn't it? You do know this obsession we have.
Yes, I've heard about it.
I'm so sorry. We'll just get it out in the open first. It's difficult now to be a Danish writer, really. You have to be a crime writer.
Oh, well, that's lucky for me then. I didn't know that, but I'm not a crime writer.
So this is it. This is not a crime novel.
No.
Okay.
And it's not. Actually, I made a point of it when it was published in Denmark that my publisher mustn't call it crime fiction. But of course I was being very, very stupid there because I wrote the title myself, and The Murder of Halland is also what it's called in Danish. And of course, if you call a book something like that, people will expect it to be crime fiction. But I am a poet and a short story writer, and I don't have that many readers, or at least, well, you know, Denmark is a small country, and I thought perhaps there are 100 or perhaps 200 people who know who I am and read my things. And when I decided that I wanted to call the novel The Murder of Halland, I thought this was the joke of the year. And anyone who knew anything about my poems, who also, my poems sometimes also are about crime. And I kill a lot of people in my short stories, or at least some of the people there would like to kill somebody. And I knew that my few readers would think that this was really, really funny, because they would know that it wasn't crime fiction. But to cut a very long story short, I've been reading crime fiction all my life, and I love it, and I've always known I can't write a real crime fiction novel with plots and things like that. But I wanted to write a book that is situated in the outskirts of the crime fiction novel. And that is to say, if I read a book, a real crime fiction novel, I always think, you know, the opening of a novel, a man is walking his dog in the morning. What happens? There's a corpse in the bushes. And then every time, and this happens very often in crime fiction, I always think, that man with that dog. And we never hear any more about him. I want to write a novel about that man. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. But there are some other minor characters in the traditional crime fiction novel, for instance, the bereaved. If they're not as suspicious in any way, we just hear perhaps a little bit about their reaction when they're told your husband was killed or something like that. And I thought, we should write some books about it. I'm not going to explain anything about this, I'm sure you'll all get it. And the quotation is from a Danish novel by Tove Ditlevsen, and it goes, "With the carefree ingratitude that becomes spoiled children so well, the boy reaches out for the marmalade, while Mrs. Anderson, who always smells so chastely of soap and ironing, carefully removes the shell from his egg. When the lodger had gone, I drank another shot of aquavit. After that I stared out of the window, then rang Brand's mobile. No answer. Wedging Inger's casserole under my arm, I went next door and knocked. I could hear raised voices inside, hers and Lasse's. I rang the doorbell, though I knew it didn't work, then knocked again. "I won't put up with it for one more minute," Inger yelled in my face, stepping past me into the square. "He's just a teenager," I mumbled. "That doesn't excuse everything. I'm sick to bloody death of him. Never lifts a finger, lounging about all day. He was supposed to help me this morning, but he's only just crawled out of bed with a hangover. He thinks he's going out again tonight. How can you get drunk when you're 17 anyway? Isn't it against the law?" "Just leave him," I said, and went inside. Lasse sat in the kitchen, slumped in front of a bowl of porridge and a glass of chocolate milk. "Got a headache, have we?" I chuckled. Hangovers are funny at that age. They are proud of them. "You haven't seen Grant, I suppose, either of you. His lodger says he's gone missing." They hadn't, and didn't seem that bothered either. I watched Lasse. He was so listless, so boyish and self-conscious. A few moments ago he had yelled at his mother. She was still livid. "He takes and never gives anything in return," she fumed. Lasse cowered. I wanted a teenager at home, even an unreasonable one. As unreasonable as they came, I wouldn't mind. Not everyone is cut out for children, but most people have them anyway. As always, I was overcome by a rather gratuitous tenderness, since I had no children living with me. Besides, Abby would be 24 soon. But there had been a time when she was small, just growing up. A time when she laughed and cried, played on the swing, spilt her food down her front. A time when she immersed herself in play, sat still to have her hair brushed. A time of sleeping and waking. A time of singing and shouting and squealing with joy. A time of whispered secrets and finishing her dinner. A time of pulling faces and dealing out kisses and shying away from kisses. I wanted it all back. Yet at the time, the opportunity seemed to have passed me by. When I wept from the pain of not having Abby, I really wept for not being a decent mother. I had been a hypocrite who had wanted Abby to like me, but she didn't. It was as simple as that. I often thought of how I held her in my arms as a baby, just as I recently held my cousin's sleeping newborn grandchild. I sat and gazed into that little face, longing to relive the entire experience, even the part where Abby started answering back as children do. I even wanted her to despise me again, because she would at least be with me. I had made one of my despairing attempts of becoming a decent mother after reading an article claiming that meal times delivered many benefits. One had to make an effort with the table, for example, by using colourful napkins. The first time I tried this, I don't think Abby or her father noticed. In fact, Abby tried to pick a fight, and her first mouthful prompted the obnoxious comment, "Your food tastes like shit." Although her words upset me, I nearly burst out laughing. She noticed straight away and flew into a rage. And now I could only remember her comment and her eyes filling with tears, not the real reason for her anger. Perhaps her father and I had already decided to split up. Yes, that must have been the reason.